Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Afternoon, good day, wherever you may be in the world of gaming. I am with some of the team, most of the team. Well, at least the people who count, the ones who remember that every other Saturday we have a show.
There's that.
Yeah. So, good morning, everybody. This is Dawn.
Good morning.
That's Jim. And that's Chris. And we are the Sit Rep Podcast team, and we are coming to you live and in full color. Live in color. So we have a great show for you today. We're going to talk about the gaming world in general and what's new and all that good stuff. And then we're also going to talk to you about our ideas. And I bet some of you guys have some doozies of what the perfect game store would be. If I gave you a blank check and said, here, spend all, if I won the lottery and said, here, there's no limit. What would be the perfect game store? We'll talk about that and more after this. In 3, 2, 1.
Big Duke 6 Eagle Thrust. Put on Cywar off. Sing it loud. This is a Romeo Foxtrot. Shall we dance?
You are listening to the SitRep Podcast, your source for everything related to historical wargaming. Whether you are looking for the latest wargaming news, reviews, painting tutorials, or playthroughs, you will hear about it right here. So grab your favorite beverage or brush and let's hit it.
Okay, we are back. We are live. We are ready to roll. Some of us have just woke up. Doing the Brady Bunch thing.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, all right, guys. So welcome to the show. Let me bring up the chat so we can see what all you beautiful people out there have to say. And let's do the traditional. Dawn, what have you been up to?
Cards, and more cards. Let's be honest.
Truth.
Yeah, I'm all about Bloomborough right now. So I've been creating some decks, and actually I've played a bunch of Arena this week, did drafts, and I am loving it.
Mm-hmm.
And even better, I've got you playing now too. So come to the card side.
I'm just doing it to be, supportive.
I appreciate it.
But
I
truly.
appreciate it.
Happy wife, happy life.
True that.
So.
But I got to tell you, yesterday, I'm kind of feeling the hankering to start working on my Malifaux stuff.
Ooh, Malifaux.
So, yeah. I think that would be really fun.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to crack out my pack, start assembling things, and God help me, try to paint some stuff, maybe.
Cool.
Yeah.
Malifaux's a great game, and of course it's card-based, so of course she's going to play it.
That's not why I like it, though.
No.
That's just the cool mechanic.
You get to cheat.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, Malifaux's a great game. And the minis are beautiful, and they are fiddly bits, and yeah. But they are beautiful. Hello? What else? Anything?
Nope, that's it for me.
All right. Chris.
We've got the laser working again.
Yay.
Nice.
The
Laser.
I just wanted a freaking laser.
Shark with freaking lasers on their head.
Yep. So, it was a bit more expensive this time because I ended up getting there's actual coolant and antifreeze for laser cutters.
Uh-huh.
So instead of using water in the cooler, yeah. So
Interesting.
yeah, like $40 a gallon. Ouch. But we won't have it freeze and crack during the winter again.
Good. Yeah, that kind of sucked, huh?
Yep. So we got it working, and I've got some painting to do today.
Yeah, what you painting?
A Dragonborn monk.
Cool.
Cool. Jim,
Yes, sir.
what's going on?
Fair amount of gaming.
Yeah.
We've done a 15 millimeter Desert Storm on a 50 square foot table. That was a lot of fun. Using 7 Days to the River Rhine system by Great Escape Games. A lot of house rules in that one because it has to be extremely asymmetrical. The Go For was obviously, one of the great curb stomps. So it's tough to make those games, historically accurate and at the same time, fun and fair for both players. I mean, who wants to play the Iraqis in the Gulf War?
Yeah, right.
But I think we pulled it off. It was a really asymmetrical victory conditions. And so look out for some content on that shortly. And we've also done we've done in Panzer Leader, we've done early Ukraine war. That was pretty successful. Now we've done some tabletop 15 millimeter early Ukraine war. So I built some drones for that. Got my Ukrainians on the table. Of course, some of my Cold War Soviets were sort of repainted a little bit to match the 2022 Russians of like 35th Combined Arms Army, coming down that Kiev corridor, or Kiev corridor, I should say. I'm always going to mispronounce Kiev, right? I'm not trying to be pro-Russian for all of our community members. It takes me a while to say Kiev. I grew up in the Eastern Front. I've been in the Eastern Front since I was 12 years old. I've called it the Ukraine, and I've called it Kiev since I was 12. So it's going to take me a while. But no, Kiev is what I meant to say. But yeah, quite a bit of gaming. So we got plenty of footage for some future content. So yeah, I've been staying busy.
Good. Awesome.
How about you? What you been doing?
Oh, nothing. That's a lie. The Captain Winters bust. I'm still waiting on the stupid sanding sticks. They should supposed to be here today. We'll film that for some tomorrow. We'll do the base coats, and then I'm going to talk about color palette a little bit, how we're going to do that. Whether I'm going to buy pre-color, the proper tone, pre-colored. Paint's always pre-colored.
I was going to say.
So, whether I'm buying an actual color set like the Vallejo U.S. military World War II uniform set to get the right tonation, or if I'm just going to custom mix my colors. I can use the Pantone color mixing program and put in, I want this khaki, and it will tell me mix this, mix this, mix this. So I don't know yet. It'll be interesting. I want this miniature this bus. It's not even a miniature. It's 1/10 of a scale. I want it to be right. So there's that. And then on top of that,
I was going to say, you're not. Yeah, Chris isn't the only person that had technical difficulties with a piece of machine.
Yeah, my one printer in the print shop for our print shop. We have a business called What's Your Need Custom Printing, and we do T-shirts and bags and cups and all that stuff. So like this shirt here, we just printed, and this is what Jim and Chris will be wearing in the near future. This is also, it says broadcast team on it, all that. So we're getting those finished up printing this weekend. And we're also going to put QR codes on the sleeve. So we're at a convention. People go, oh, what's your site? You can just go and boom. Anyway, so.
And you've got a very important order in right now.
I do. I got my first official order, between you and Marty, Chris, you came through. You came through, Chris. I appreciate it, buddy.
Not a problem.
Yeah. So, I mean,
I don't care if your printer's not working. I still paid for the express shipping. So I should be wearing this soon.
Well, I had to order your gray shirts that you had to have. So,
hey, don't have it on your website if you don't have it.
If you read the fine print, it says if available. If not, it could be longer. Read the fine print, sir. Fine print.
Inventory management. Yeah, do those warehouse turns.
Yeah.
There it is.
Is
that right next to the size choosing for the custom
now,
shirts?
To be fair, Chris, you pointed out a very good thing on the website. So this weekend I will be updating the theme of the website, so it will be more streamlined. So you have your colors and sizes much better laid out. So thank you for pointing that out, because I totally missed that. Anyway, getting back to it. So one of my printers head totally took a shit, and it's $600 to replace. Ouch. And the main board took a shit because I guess I got it wet when I was cleaning the print head, and that's another $20. So about $800 worth of repairs. So for a machine that's 3 months old, if that. So yep.
Well, you learned a very
important lesson. Don't turn it on if it's wet. So anyway, I also did pre-order something else. I pre-ordered.
I'm gonna walk past the obvious joke there, but we're gonna keep going.
I know. I was like, really, we're gonna throw that out into the ether?
And hang it right over the plate. I did pre-order Bolt Action 3rd edition starter set from Warlord Games. So you can't talk about it if you don't have it. You know what I mean? So
Sure.
there's that. And then Chris, I'm going to challenge you to a 3D printing challenge. Dun,
What?
dun, dun. So I was watching a video of these guys that were printing their own Lord of the Rings miniatures in 10 mil, and they printed entire armies. So I'm going to print an army. You're going to print an army. I'm going to paint an army.
And
You might-
Marty's going to paint the army.
And then we're going to hit the field. Thanks, John.
Yeah. Sometimes it's a little too obvious. It's like,
Right?
yeah, you know what? I'm gonna let that one go by.
Yep. So, yeah, but yeah, we are really ramping up. And then, like, if you watched the video from last Sunday, Friday night wrap up should happen next Friday, right? It should be the first one. If we get everything lined up correctly, so it will either be this Friday or the 2-week Friday. Production is not as easy. Jim could speak to production. How long does it take you to do a video, Jim? I get messages from Jim like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning going, "Hey, it's done. I'm going to bed." And I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's a little bit. It takes. I mean, it takes. Well, if you count the whole process,
Mm-hmm.
it's like just the editing is 4 days,
Yeah.
4 like complete work days. For a 25-30 minute video. I say complete work days. That's like 5-hour days because I have a full-time job. So
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
after that, I gotta do the rest of it. But if you count the whole process, it's like 2 days to get ready for the game, a day to drag all this shit down to the club. That's a good 8 to 10 hour day. It's an hour of driving, then an hour to set it up, 2 hours to set it up, maybe 4, maybe 5 hours to play, an hour to take it down, an hour to drive it back, and then an hour to put everything away. So it's a good 10-hour day. So that's day 3, and then again, like I said, like 4 days to do the pre the introductory video part. You know, where I'm talking about the history or the background or whatever, talking about the game system. That's a day. To write that script, shoot it, edit it, put it in there. Then it's a day to do like the rough cut of all the video and try to get it down to time, because usually we're taking like 2 hours of footage and trying to squeeze it down to 30 minutes.
Mhm.
So we have to, you know, make sure that we get only the best stuff that we have in there.
Right.
It's a day to do the voice narration that goes over top of it. Like 25 minutes of voice recording takes at least 3 or 4 hours. I did the last one in about 3 hours. It was a little better than usual. And then about 5 more hours on day 4 to sound effects, text overlay. I just said text. You know, little special effects, little graphic elements, stuff like that. Splice it all together and render it. And then you just got to cross your fingers and pray to Grandmother Spider and the tech gods that the render friggin' works.
Right.
That's a very, very anxious 45 minutes there. But it's been behaving lately, so, you know, knock on wood.
Yeah.
That it goes well. So yeah, it's a fair amount.
You know, there was nothing worse when we were first doing videos way back when, where I go to render a video before we send it over to Ireland, and it would take hours to render, you know, just because that's what the machine you had at the time. And you get to, you know, it'd be like a 2-3 hour render, and you get to 2 hours and 47 minutes, and all of a sudden it goes, render fails. And you went,
Yeah.
"Ah!"
The software I use, at least if it fails, it'll tell you straight up. Right, it'll tell you right off the bat.
Yeah.
It'll pre-composite everything. It'll assemble all the things and be like, nope, I can't render this. So then you just got to figure out what's wrong with it.
Yeah,
And
it doesn't do that.
I think I don't exactly use the best render stuff. I only render in 1080p, so that helps.
Yeah.
And the video is only like 25 minutes, so it comes out to like 2 gigs, 2.5 gigs.
Yeah.
The Panzer Leader videos are even smaller because they're obviously much simpler from a graphics perspective. So those only take like, I don't know, they only come out to be like 400 megs or something. They come out to be about a quarter the size, and they render much faster.
See,
Like
I've
tabletop stuff.
never had problems. I take the raw footage, I put it in a folder. I tell Bill, hey, footage has been uploaded,
That's true.
and it's just
Like, and
fucking magic. Great.
Man, we must be.
Well, you look at a lot of these, like a lot of these big time YouTubers, like these people who have like 1 million plus subscribers. Once you get to a certain point, they hire editors. They,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
definitely
Yeah.
have
Because they
all-
can afford to.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
were
exactly.
actually watching a behind the scenes video last night of, if you guys follow Magic the Gathering, there's a show called Tolarian Community College, and the professor, quote unquote,
Prof.
showed his studio, and it's actually, they rented out a house if or some kind of building, and he has an editing suite where he has 2, 3, 4 editors that work there full time. And, you know, he just hit 1 million subscribers on YouTube, so obviously he can afford it. So
That's pretty expensive. Those production guys make. I mean, back when I was still doing graphic design, that's at least 40 an hour, and if
Yeah.
they're full time, that's
pretty impressive.
that's pretty good.
Interns.
Yeah, maybe.
True,
Maybe,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, get your experience.
You
on-
said community college.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's a school project.
Well, you know, if you know anything about him, I guess he used to be an adjunct professor at some school, for college, university, and he started doing
He's in
videos.
English. He was an English.
English professor, and he started doing videos on Magic the Gathering. Hit 1 million subscribers. He makes more money doing this than he did teaching. So, yeah, good for him.
Well, there's
All
a guy
right.
I used to watch who makes friggin' Star Wars videos. He's like, yeah, well, I used to be a lawyer. Wow. Now you're making YouTube videos about Star Wars.
Well, I guess if
Crazy.
you do it right, you can.
Well,
make
no, there you have a choice between people liking you or not.
it.
Right. Fun, not fun. Probably that would be.
So I wanted to do a couple quick updates. Pay them in foil cards.
Yeah, right.
There you go.
They probably would.
John, to answer your other question, did you see the War Game Atlantic Orcs? Those are in 28 millimeter, aren't they? I think I've seen them from their fantasy line. I just like micro scale. If anybody has ever followed this channel for any length of time, knows that I like epic small scale stuff.
What?
So, yeah, I don't know.
Also,
why.
good morning, Jen. We see you.
So, I want to share a couple things with you real quick. Like I stated earlier, the Warlord is up for pre-order. Let me go back to the pre-orders. This is what I pre-ordered, the starter set, if I can get it to show up. So you get the new rule book in hardback and the softback rule. And then you get, it's based on the Battle of Bulge. You get Winter Troops and Fallschirmjägers. And what is this, Jim? Is this
It's either an M8 or an M20. I'm going to guess an M8 because I can't really see the full screen there.
Yeah,
So it's an American armored car.
okay. So you get
I like
it.
the terrain that it comes with. That's cool.
You know, here's the thing about this terrain. We've had this terrain in 5 different iterations because
Yep.
every starter set you get the same dang house. They must have thousands of these things because you see it everywhere, which is fine. You know, it's better than nothing.
I mean, it's a ruined building, though. You know,
Yeah.
to be fair, even if you had 12 copies of it,
I want
and you
trees.
and you put a board together.
I just
well,
want trees.
Yeah.
It's the Battle of
They're
the
not-
Bulge. A
they're
lot
not
of
gonna
it
give you trees.
took place in the forest. So, you know, but yeah, no, it's a cool set. I mean, you get the little plastic markers this time, and you know, dice, obviously the
Are
action
those
dice.
flames?
Yeah, those the
Okay.
hit markers. So, ordered that up, and let me share something even more important.
Uh-oh.
This is a public service announcement.
Hi, my name is Bill.
Hello,
I buy too many games.
my name is Bill, and I am one of the hosts of the SITREP podcast. And if you cherish military history, such as we do, it's uber important that you support this next item
Uh-oh.
because of its proud traditions, its proud history, and it is the greatest fighting unit that ever existed in the history of the United States military.
I
Oh,
hope
talking
I-
about First Marine Division. Good deal.
I present to you the 82nd Airborne Limited Edition Flames of War set.
Wow.
You're welcome. This is actually a celebration of Arnhem, I guess. So they're doing 82nd Airborne limited run and the 6th Airborne. So as you can see, here's the 6th Airborne, and then
Perfect time for it.
Yep.
Can you
So
make those bigger?
I know because it pops up another screen now, so I'd
Mhm.
have to do that. But so guess we'll be ordering some of that today.
Mhm.
I won't say it, but I will say it. So yes, Flames of War Battlefront is putting out limited editions of 6th Airborne and 82nd Airborne, and they've got the Manor House that was in Arnhem. If you've ever watched the movie Bridge Too Far, you'll recognize this house. European Cafe that can go in the town of Arnhem, state houses, so all that good stuff. So if you have the inkling to build a table of Arnhem, you could possibly do it with some of that. And there's a ton of STL files out there you could print up. And I need to get an FDM printer so I can do terrain, because I do have a resin printer for miniatures and it does an amazing job. It just doesn't make sense to use a resin printer for terrain because it uses a ton of resin and it can get quite expensive. Where an FDM printer these days, like Chris, you could speak to your bamboo printer. It works fast,
Yeah.
and print in color if you want it to. And so it's amazing.
Somebody's got a flower pot on their way.
Nice. Jenna, are you going to Bastogne? What?
Yeah, Piotr and I are going there, hopefully, for the 80th anniversary. We've been talking about that all year.
That's awesome.
That's there's some definite stuff up in the air still.
Yeah.
But we're Piotr, our friend from Poland. We're trying to do a meetup there in a little before Christmas, so we're going to be a little early. Because we don't want to try to fly during the Christmas season.
Sure.
If all goes well. It's not 100%, but we are working on it.
It's very cool.
You know what would be really cool? If you played a game of Panzer Leader in the forest while you're there.
In the winter.
In the winter.
Brushing snow off the board. Right?
So does that mean that we're going to be doing Lord of the Rings in New Zealand?
I'm down. Dawn, you down?
Yeah. Let's go to that Hobbit town.
Yes, we'll go to the real Hobbits
That would
too.
be super cool.
Hobbit
Oh, we'll
In
play
the
it
pub.
there.
In the
Oh.
pub. Yep.
No, depends on the battle. We have to travel around the country.
Oh.
Okay, you can travel. We'll hang. We'll hang in the pub. Yeah, no. John, I was just looking at the War Games Atlanta. I didn't realize they made an epic scale. They call it Grand Battle Scale. And I'm looking at the Samurai and the Asagaru as we speak. Why did you do this to me?
Thanks, John.
Because now I have to
Bill needs more enablers, everyone.
Yeah, right.
Thanks a lot.
There's a separate club. You don't have to try real hard to be a member.
There's a secret Discord channel on our Discord page, enablers.
Enablers less than anonymous. Yeah.
Yeah. No, those look really good. I didn't see the orcs though. I got Ancients, Colonials, War. That's 28. I see Grand Battle Scale, but it just brings up the Japanese armies from back in the day. I don't see an actual store though. Where to buy? I wonder if our friend Chris carries that stuff. Do you think he carries it?
I don't know.
I'll have to ask him. Our friend Chris, who lives literally just down the street from us, who owns what business, hon?
Phalanx Consortium.
Phalanx Consortium. He's a war game supplier of different things. We're going to get him on the show because we're going to have some gaming going on that table now that we can see it.
Yeah, now that there's a table under there. Who knew?
Oh, the orcs were just announced last week. Okay, I don't need to know this. But Chris, we're going to do miniature Lord of the Rings.
Yep.
And with the new rule set coming out, it'll be even better. Okay. All right.
Okay. Real quick.
Yeah, go for it. I can't see it. It's blurry. What is it? Where's your? You need a ring. You need a face light.
That's cool. What scale is that?
Oh, there we
Chris?
go.
That's a big model, no?
54. Yeah, I printed it.
Resin or FDM?
Resin.
Nice.
Cool.
Very nice.
I also printed 28 scale.
Very cool.
Awesome.
Mini and not so many.
Very cool. All right. Anybody else have any little bit of industry news? Anything going on? Something that came to your attention? I know, Dawn, you said something about Games
I was just
Workshop.
gonna say, yeah. So this isn't anything, for sale, but I did find this really. It was an interesting conversation. So GW this week announced that they're banning the use of AI in components for Golden Demon entries, and this whole hubbub came about because one of the winner, Neil, I can't remember his last name, absolutely epic painting. But the backdrop, like a long skinny backdrop behind him, apparently was an AI generated thing. It wasn't something that anybody was scratch painted, and it opened this whole can of worms. And so it was just an interesting topic. Like I guess I wouldn't have thought anyone would have used something like that.
Is that
for
the one
of
at
these
Adepticon?
entries.
The guy that was looking upside down or whatever, the reflection?
No.
Oh, okay, it's a different one.
Find the picture.
Okay.
So not the miniature itself, but something that was behind the mini, because
The
Golden
background.
Demons.
Correct. Yeah, the miniature itself was absolutely GW and what it was supposed to be, but the backdrop behind it, it's like this. It's a very pretty forest scene. I don't know why this didn't stay up. I had it pulled up on my phone.
That's
and
all right.
It just backed off. But anyway, I don't know what you guys thought about that. I mean,
For something to that level, I have to agree with Games Workshop on this.
I know.
But
write this down.
if you're at that level of competition, there shouldn't be anything AI generated. I'm sorry. To me, that does seem kind of, I don't want to say cheating, but it's a crutch.
I mean, we've seen plenty of entries
Mm-hmm.
at Crystal Brush and stuff, prior, where all of the stuff, including backdrop, was scratch painted. So I guess it never even occurred to me that someone might use something other than that.
Yeah.
But
I guess I'm confused. What, some stuff you would almost want to print off and then try to, paint over. Not everybody's got the skills to be able to pull
Yeah,
off.
Chris, when you're at the level of Golden Demon, you have.
I don't have to ever worry about that.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, no,
You
leave
can go
me
ahead
out.
and do that, Chris.
Yeah, I will just.
We all can go ahead and do that. But yeah. I don't know. I just thought it was really fascinating. And so they came out with a formal statement saying not allowed. So,
Yeah, it's just interesting to see AI encroaching in everyday life.
Yep.
Yep.
You
And likewise in D&D Beyond, if you look at the change log or whatever, the latest blogs,
Mhm.
one of the things they said is no AI in any of their graphic displays or something. I don't know the details,
That's good.
but yeah.
Well,
I
it's
support
the
that 100 I support that 100%.
Yep.
because otherwise a lot of graphic artists would lose their jobs or have to basically become AI programmers. Now, full transparency, the title slides you see in these shows, that was AI generated. I have an AI program I use because obviously that doesn't look like Dawn or me or any of the other team in the title slide. But I put in there man and woman looking at blueprints, building a game store, and that's what came out. So I think it's a. Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, but people don't come to our channel and support us because of our title slides.
That's true.
Right.
They come here for gaming content or whatever. I mean, if what you're actually putting out there for people is your product, like we don't use, of course, I don't even know how you would do that. I'm sure they'll come up with a way sooner or later, probably sooner rather than later, a way to AI print a miniature or a way to AI paint a miniature. They're going to come up with a way to AI print. I'm sure people do it already. I've seen some products out there where you can AI print or AI generate like battle maps, hex grids, square grids, like automatic dungeon creator, stuff like that. I don't know. If you're using it for something to make something more accessible, I don't really have a problem with that. I'm not like a complete AI basher. But if you're trying to make money off of that visual product, also AI is just not very good yet. I'm sure it'll get better sooner rather than later. But right now,
Right.
AI can't count to 5 because it can't figure out how many fingers go on the friggin' human hand. I mean,
Isn't that bizarre?
some of that shit gives me nightmares, man. Some of the things that AI does to the human body is just horrific. Some of the sketch work that I do, I was like, obviously I'm not going to use, I'm not going to like print, generate something via AI and like, hey, look, I drew this, because that's where people draw the line.
Yeah.
But believe it or not, I don't have a harem of models living at my house ready to pose for me.
What?
So I was like, you know what? Let me go ahead and try to use it as a source reference, maybe, or something. You can't do that because the AI can never get human proportion right. AI never gets, like pretty much what you need, the actual model for. Like I'm back to this whole thing. Everyone's seen one of these. So yeah, it's pretty horrific, and half of it looks like friggin' anime anyway, and that's just nasty. I'm sorry.
I
Never been a fan of anime.
I really wish that AI would take over the not fun stuff. You know what? Have AI do my laundry so then I can paint.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that meme out there. It's like I want to live in a world where robots do my chores so I can write poetry and paint oil. I don't want AI to paint oil and write poetry so I can do the laundry.
Yep. Where's our robot from the Jetsons? Seriously,
Right?
He should have been there by now.
Yeah, I saw that meme yesterday. It said, I don't want Jetson's car. I want Rosie.
Yep.
John said, so here's the case for me. I'm adapting some rules to do Zona Alpha style game. Now I can paint minis, but I can't draw worth a crud. I've done a cover that's AI generated. See, it has its purpose.
Yeah.
And as long as you're not passing it off as unique, my own, I did it work, to be honest with you, I think most people who with half a brain cell can tell if it's AI generated or not. I mean, it has a look to it, truthfully. But like in the case of
the eyes are never right, the hands are never right.
Yeah.
The eyes look like
I didn't even look at the picture to see if they had all their fingers in the right place.
Okay. So anyone who ever sees my minis, they're not AI generated.
And they still
because the eyes are not right.
Oh, I think we should start a club. We should just start adding an extra finger or whatever.
The only time it's okay to have an extra hand on a statue is the Marine Corps raising of the flag.
But don't fuck with that, Chris. Why would you fuck
No.
with that Iwo Jima?
Isn't that the story?
There's like one guy in. It depends on the angle from which you view it. I'm more familiar with the photograph, but like you can't see all 6 guys in the photograph.
So from what I've
I gotcha.
The statue, someone said that there's an extra hand in there that is kind of hard to attribute who it belongs to.
The big one in Washington?
Yeah, because it's the hand of God.
Oh, maybe.
Interesting.
I know that for the longest time they had one of the people in the photograph misidentified because you can't see any of their faces in the photograph, which is part of what makes it so iconic. When they first took the photograph, they're like, "This is a terrible photograph. You can't even see any of their faces." That's what made it so iconic. It became so symbolic for the American people at the time. Like that's all of us.
Yes.
In a way, because like there's a reason in Halo you never see Master Chief's face. I mean, there's a reason you do that, which is why that television show ruined that franchise too. The second he takes off his helmet, there's a reason he never takes off his helmet. It's that way he can be everybody. He can be like your conduit or your vessel into the game or whatever. The second you know what he looks like, he's not you. So the flip side is
I've seen him kneel and get back up. I know he's not me.
Oh right, yeah, there you go.
Amen to that.
Well, I'm looking at a picture of of the memorial in DC. It's hard to tell. There are hands like this one here, but it's hard to say. Who knows? I guess they'd have to go there to look. But that's interesting. It's very interesting.
Oh, I never heard that. That is interesting.
Okay, let's transition.
And hold on, Jen's got a good point
What's that?
in the chat.
Oh,
For
yeah.
Chat GPT. That's writing AI. That's
Yeah.
It's still art.
Well, I mean, it's a tool. As long as you use it as a tool and don't come off as it's I did it. I mean, obviously you're putting the info in, but not saying, in the case of the Golden Demon, I painted the background, or I don't know. I don't know the whole story, so I'm not. But there are people who try and pass off AI as their own work. Like there was
anyone who calls it AI art has a big problem with me. Anyone who calls themselves an AI artist has a big problem with me.
All right.
If you want to call it an AI image, I got no problem with that. I have no problem with how it's used, because there's, a lot of stuff where you just have to, you need an image now. It's got to be kind of simple. It's kind of off to the side. It's, there's no problem with that. But like the second you try to call it art, it's not art. It's the result of an algorithm into which you plugged in a series of parameters.
Yeah.
If you want to call yourself an AI programmer, I have no problem with that. But it's the second they start calling it art. I don't know if a grant letter would be considered art. This goes into a much bigger question: what is art and what isn't? There's
I'm just with all that, and at some level, like if I was trying to paint something, I might have to print something and have it like behind so I could trace over it.
Right.
At one point, where does it come in,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Trying to understand, well, how is that going to look with the folds of a flag or something like that?
Yeah, Leonardo da Vinci used to have a model who would stand in his studio and he would draw from that.
Right.
With all the stuff I use,
I keep trying to get models to come into my house, and
they don't want to come. Every time I go down to Diamond Dolls and I try to get all the Brazilians down there to come to my house and pose for me, they always say no, or they want to charge like $1,000 an hour. I don't know what the big deal is.
Chad, I am so sorry.
What has happened?
Well, we're going to talk about what makes the perfect gaming club. Maybe we should.
Yeah,
there we go. Nice segue.
Good segue.
Woo!
Oh, you meant that kind of club. My bad.
Yeah.
And on that note,
But before we transition, all artists use some kind of reference.
Yeah.
That's
So, I wouldn't have a problem with someone who used AI as a reference to do their own work. Problem is, AI is not good enough for that yet. You're going to get you go to AI for proportion, for perspective, for anatomy, and those are all the things that AI gets wrong, at least for the moment. I'm sure it's going to improve. It's getting better every day. So, who knows?
Yep. So I do have a question before we transition to the game store idea.
Mm-hmm.
And this is for y'all out there. What do you guys think of the color cube? Have you?
Oh, that everybody's been promoting on Ninja John and everybody.
Not familiar with it.
So, Jim, a color cube is this big box, and you pull it out, and it has different color combinations, and it tells you different colors, and it's like a color scheme palette, if you will, and you use those colors to create a color scheme on it. And they're using it for miniatures. It's used for different art and pictures and whatnots. Let me see if I can find it, but to make it more clear. But the funny thing is, I saw them promoting it, but then you look at his painting videos since then, and I haven't seen it out on the table at all.
Okay. So, and for me, color schemes are one of my biggest things that hold me up.
Yeah, no, I get it. It has its place. That is definitely not it. But
for the record, we kind of, not to this extent, but the artistic community, because you guys have seen on Facebook, I do a lot of artwork and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of went through a smaller version of this back in the 90s when Photoshop became a thing.
Yeah.
Like that's not, you're not really an artist. You're cheating. It's just a tool.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna
No.
share the screen here so you can see it. So, Jim, it's this box, and you pull it out. It has these different pictures in it, and then it shows the colors that are in that palette, if you will. And the idea is you only use those colors to paint a miniature, is what they're using it in the miniature hobby world.
So it's a guide and a reference. Yeah.
Correct. So, and like I said, it's a novel thing, but I haven't seen them use it since then. Maybe they're using it behind the scenes, but when you look at their videos, I haven't seen them pull it out since. So, if for somebody who's having challenge, it's a great thing. I mean, I just don't know, and it costs. Is there even a price on it?
I mean, it's not for me, but if you find it useful, I mean, what was
Yeah.
the question? Like, is it like
I was just getting
cheating?
people's thoughts. No, not cheating. Not
No,
down
no.
that vein of conversation. But you guys were talking about references, and I'm like,
Yeah.
hey, speaking of that,
Cool.
Let's see if it's in the cart.
yeah, let's move on to the game store.
It's $67. I mean, it's not that bad. So
Yeah.
Okay, moving along.
Mhm.
All right. Good morning, sir.
Yay, Dennis is here.
Just in time, Dennis. If I gave you a blank check and said, create the world's most perfect game store, what would you do? What would be in it for you? Who would like to start?
What would be in it for me?
Jim.
My friends.
Jim.
There we go. All right, I'm going to start off with a bit
Uh-huh.
of plagiarism.
Okay.
Because the Dice Tower channel did this like 10 years ago.
Uh-huh.
And there's one thing that stuck out to me ever since then, and he is so right. It's like, when you're right, you're right. The guy like looks at the camera. He basically seizes the camera and pulls it into his face. He's like, pay attention to me. If you're going to run a gaming store, there's one thing you have to have, and there's amazing how many stores don't have this. For the love of God. And he like basically strangles the camera and like yells into the camera, have clean bathrooms.
Amen to that.
For
Yes,
the love
yes.
of God. And then he goes on to say, if your players are crossing the street to go to the bathroom in the McDonald's across the road, we've all been in a McDonald's bathroom, sadly, at least once in our life.
Yep.
You've got a problem.
Yep.
So yeah, you've got to have, if it was a blank check and like I could have like any kind of bathroom, any kind of facility I wanted, yeah, we would have like you go to a nice restaurant and you almost feel underdressed when you go into the men's room or you go into the ladies' room. I would have like the mother of all restrooms in there for sure, and I would have like at least one person on staff whose part of his or her job would be to keep that place friggin' spotless.
I love it, Jim.
Buc-ee's
I would go to your
bathrooms.
game store.
Buc-ee's bathrooms. If you've been to Buc-ee's, they have the
Uh-oh.
most amazing bathrooms ever. And they have full-time attendants. They're not the ones that have like the mints and the little cologne. You remember those, Jim? Have you ever been to a restaurant? Actually, our fare, the sandwich fare.
Well, there's usually a guy sitting in there and he's like ready to give you a towel. I don't know. We don't need all that, but
Oh, come on. Money's no object.
No, we just want clean and
Yes.
like toilet paper and
More than one.
soap and paper towels and yeah.
More than one. More than one bathroom.
No, I love that. That is a really good point.
That is amazing how that's the first thing that comes up.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah. Oh, Tuffy ears. You know what? I was just gonna say, isn't it funny how Marty's not here and Tuffy ears aren't here?
Cons-
Are
has
they-
anyone ever photographed them together at the same time?
Right?
Superman and Clark Kent. Yeah.
Yep. So, Chris, what's a thought for you as far as like perfect game store? I have a lot of thoughts. Go
Yeah. Believe it or not, liquor license.
Yep.
Yeah.
I said that. Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
sorry.
Yep. Oh no, that's
I don't know about hard liquor, but at least beer and wine license. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Totally.
and food, like
Totally.
you said, a restaurant. We'd have to have a maker spot in it.
A what? You broke up.
Maker spot. Maker, the 3D printers and the lasers and the
Mm-hmm.
everything else.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I want it to be I've got a couple things
Mhm.
that are important to me. So I know you guys will get this, Jim, probably not so much, but so like the Wandering Dragon
Yep.
up in Illinois, I love how it has some heavily themed rooms in it that
Mhm.
are like very
Oh.
atmospheric, for role play games or whatever,
Mhm.
like you look like you're in a tavern or you look like you're
Yeah.
in a dungeon or something like that. Like I think those are really cool because that really adds to like the immersion, for some games.
Mhm.
That'd be cool.
But
You get, like in one of the rooms, you have like some camo netting,
Yes.
exactly.
like over at
Exactly.
TLC, some shit like that.
Parachute. There
Yep.
you go.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, like it could be a little bit of everything.
You're kind of stealing my thunder, man, but go
I
ahead.
know, sorry. But the other, so another piece for me, and like Dragster used to do this when Dragster was open.
Mhm.
I really liked that they had. I'm trying to even think of like what it was called, but like basically kind of like demo days of
Mhm.
some kind where you kind of solicited people from the local gaming community to run little mini events, because it was the perfect opportunity for you to get exposure to a handful of games that you probably wouldn't have tried otherwise. And it's the try it before you buy it
Mhm.
kind of thing. That's kind of how we found Malifaux.
Mhm.
Is getting to try that, with somebody else, because game stores can't be all things for all people.
Oh, yes, they
Realistically,
can.
well, you can try, but
I have an unlimited
that's
budget.
that's why some game stores are.
They don't do it right.
Well, to your point, like our local game store doesn't really have bolt action stuff, and so it's like clearly there's probably a community of people that would like that, but they obviously don't frequent that store.
But
And
why?
so,
And I can tell you why.
exactly. I mean, but
Yeah.
so, but I think those demo days are really important because people can try board games and card games and miniature games.
Good
And
point, Dennis.
I actually kind of used to do that way back in the day. I was part owner of a gaming store up in Beaufort, South Carolina, and I would just go there and run. Back in those days, believe it or not, Vampire the Masquerade and BattleTech, and some of
Yeah.
those games would go until 2 a.m. But then the flip side is a lot of times, first of all, we didn't know what the hell we were doing. We ran that business into the ground, but it helped keep us afloat because we would have like these 12, like, if you play full-time BattleTech or full-time, Vampire the Masquerade, those games can go 10, 12 hours. You're there
Mhm.
till 4 a.m. sometimes. And then what they would do is they would just go down to Walmart, and back in those days, get like that big tray of Sam's Choice Cola for 25 cents a can. Again, this is 1991. Come back just dump it all in the fridge and sell it for 50 cents a can. So a quarter per can. That kept us afloat for like 6 months,
Yeah.
Yep.
selling chips and friggin' soda. But then on top of that, people would sometimes come out of that game and be like, okay, that was fun. Now I want to go ahead and try it out. And they would start buying, or we didn't have it on stock. That was another problem we had. We would then order it, off the catalog and stuff like that for the people. So
Yeah.
get revenue off of that too. Not
Yeah.
only growing the community, but also making money. I mean, you're running a gaming store.
Oh
You
yeah.
have to make money.
Incredible. Love it. Go for it.
Ah,
Line
you ready?
them up, let them go.
All right, here we go. Imagine this. You walk in through double doors of this old-fashioned wood. So what is one of the biggest problems I have with game stores in their current era? You walk in, it's sterile. Think about
Yep.
the two that are by us. Lovely people, lovely, but it's just a big room with some shelves and some shit on the wall. And
Well,
some,
like last year was a Payless shoe store or something like that.
yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to Dawn's point, what's that place in Plainfield?
Wandering Dragon.
Why they do it
Yeah.
pretty good. Yeah, for the most part, they do it pretty good. You'd walk in and it would be this, to me, it would be like the Great Hall in a castle, right? And that would be your store. Okay. You theme it something like that. And then off of that, you have another big room into, your point, Jim's point. That would be my historical room. I'd have all kinds of historical warfare related shit on the walls, shenanigans.
Oh.
Oh,
So, camo nets, parachutes, swords, shields, all that kind of stuff. Well, making a small fortune in the gaming store starts with a large fortune. Very true, John. Very true.
Yep.
But it would be a dedicated room for historical stuff. You know, we'd have cases with beautiful painted miniatures and tanks and airplanes and all that shit. And then you go off of that and back into the Great Hall. Everything. I want to make it like a Disney ride. You go to the ride, you end in the store,
You
right?
have my attention. Yeah.
So, you know, and then you have a sci-fi room, you know, where you have all your sci-fi stuff. You could have a big, you know, 3D bus.
Star Trek ships hung from the ceiling, things like
Yeah,
that.
have it painted
like in your
space.
bedroom, man. Woo! You know, you can have stars on the ceiling that light, you know, the fiber optic crap. And, you know, there could be just different stuff there. And the tables have to be modular, you know, not just a plain table. It's stuff you can, you know, put in there. So it creates one of the things that really draws me to miniature wargaming is the visual aspect. There is nothing better than the play on a gorgeous, beautiful table. However, the table's got to be functional. You can have beautiful tables and you cannot play on them for shit because your miniatures fall over all the time, or you can't move them. So there has to be
people tend to overload their tables.
Yep.
Yeah. So
too much terrain. Yeah.
You have the sci-fi room, and again, you have to go into the store to get in and out, right? You know, so and maybe some Dark Star or something. I heard that's a pretty cool game,
right?
You know, and then you have your fantasy room, and that could be, you know, like a dungeon or something, you know, in a role-playing room. So you have these thematic rooms that surround the main hall, and of course, you have to have a pub. No self-respecting gamer would be caught dead without a pub. Okay, even Warhammer World has a pub.
True.
There you go.
That's.
Well, I would sell beer and wine after like 2 PM or 3, whatever time you want to set, and before that, coffee.
Yeah.
Coffee. Which goes back to our bathrooms. You have to have good bathrooms because you're gonna sell a lot of coffee and a lot of beer. So
you have really nice bathrooms, more than one, and the pub could serve an Ulster fry in the morning because I love a good fry up.
Yeah.
So yes, it'd be a traditional pub, and it would be that place you hang out after gaming. You know, like we did at the Spoons.
Yeah.
Remember that, Jim, hanging out at Weatherspoons after gaming at the, you know, after camp.
Before that place went to shit, but yeah.
So that would be my idea. And the biggest thing is I would listen to the gaming community for their input and say, this is what I want to do. This is what I'm thinking. What do you think? What am I missing? You know, because Magic the Gathering is a huge draw to any store. Any store who doesn't do Magic the Gathering probably struggles a little bit because that's just easy income. Let's be honest with you. So you have to cater
all
to
of those games. Like the club that used to be by us, Magic the Gathering all the time, and it sounds kind of dumb, but it does bring people in.
Yeah.
So I would have it. Yeah. All of that Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds kind of certainly not my bag of tea, but half the people in that club were always doing that, and on top of that, it's also a lot of younger people.
Yeah.
You know, it can't just be a bunch of old white dudes sitting around a table going, you know, Faco this and Panzer Leader that, and you know, you got to bring in new people.
And you got to have enthusiastic staff.
Yes. Yep.
So I can't tell you how many game stores I've gone into, and there's one that's very close and near dear to our heart that pretty much imploded because by the end, they were bad-mouthing every game they sold. You know, it was like, oh, you know, that game's broken. We don't play it anymore. Or blah, blah,
I was going to say, you don't want them to be too enthusiastic. I've almost had the opposite issue. I just want to buy some dice. I don't want to hear about your 20th level barbarian cleric with your 400 pages of backstory. And please don't try to sell me this stuff in Klingon. You know, take it down a notch.
Yeah.
Well, everything's got to be a happy medium. You also have to see your audience because maybe there is going to be that person who does care about that. And sometimes you want to go in and just buy something and leave. So know your audience. You have to be a people person. So that precludes me from being one of those salespeople.
But
I've worked retail. It's not fun.
No, I mean, it's hard. I mean, I've had dive stores. It's hard, you know. The more defined your product is, the harder it is to draw a crowd. Like scuba diving in Chicagoland is a very niche market, and it takes a lot to survive. And gaming stores, there's a little bit more because you can do different games and genres. So the more broader the store is, the more customer potential you have. When you start getting into finer niches, then your customer base shrinks, right? So, but the whole thing I'm going to bring out, I've already spoken to Disney Experience. The Disney Experience, they do it right because everybody's very polite for the 99.9% of the time. The employees of Disney, they create a great experience, right? It's very immersive. There is another place that is totally immersive, and the food is not good. It's not bad. It's just nothing I write home about, but people keep coming back. And you want to know what that is?
Casa Bonita.
Casa Bonita, baby. So in Lakewood,
well, the food's got to be
Colorado,
somewhat bland because everyone has to be able to eat it. I mean,
right.
Yep.
So there was a Mexican. Chris, did I take you to Casa Bonita when we went out there? So Casa Bonita is this big Mexican restaurant in Lakewood, Colorado, just outside of Denver. And the people who do South Park, the creators of South Park, bought it during the pandemic and redid it and kept it original. But when you walk into this place, it's this huge thematic environment, right? There's a waterfall with a big lagoon. There's tables surrounding it. There's an old Western mining town. It's just a huge theme thing. They have cliff divers, and it's just amazing. People, and the food, like I said, is for Mexican food in Colorado. Tex-Mex is all over in Colorado, and the food's okay, and the prices are a little high now. But people want to go back because of the experience. And that's what I would do in a store, is create this experience that I love being there, not only for playing the game, but because of the atmosphere, the people there. It's just a really great time.
Medieval times.
A fun place to hang out.
Yep.
That's what we want it to be. And look, we know that there are people that don't have a lot of money to hang out in game stores, like Magic players. Some of them just don't have a ton of disposable income, but they go there to hang out and play. But
well, the reason they don't have any disposable income is because they play Magic the Gathering.
That's true. But they will buy snacks and they will buy soda. You just got to make the rule that there's no outside food or drinks. It seems like a terrible rule, but that's how some stores survive. To Jim's point, right?
It's any like any restaurant does that. You can't walk in and with your own food and drink. It's same basic idea. And to John Sowerby's point, I mean, my dad went to Scotland and England one time on a vacation, and at the time I was really into Faz's Renegade Legions, which came out before 40K, and it's the far future. Humanity is run by a Roman emperor type figure who's no one he's seen in God knows how long. Humanity's kind of the bad guys. Pretty much the rest of the races of the galaxy are aligned against humanity. Stop me when this starts sounding familiar. I'm not saying GW is plagiarized, but GW is fucking plagiarized.
Yeah.
I used to get in trouble when I said that on other channels, but I'll say it on this one. And my dad, who's like the guy who's polite enough to listen, like when I ramble about this stuff, but not really understand it, or really, he's not really that interested in it. He walked into a GW store. He's like, oh, he's doing the whole thing. You're on vacation. You buy presents for people before you head back or whatever. And again, because the two settings are similar enough, this is in 1997. He came back. He got the hard sell, man. He was like, holy crap, this guy basically handcuffed me to the counter and beat me over the head with a cudgel before I finally bought something. And it wasn't cheap either. And this is a guy who never brags about how much something costs when he gives it to you. But the one time he said, this was not fucking cheap. He came back with a big box of 6mm Warhammer Epic.
Oh, wow.
Which, I mean, God, thanks a whole lot. I sold it off piece by piece, but because, I mean, I looked at it and I was like, this isn't Renegade Legions. This is that dumbass Warhammer stuff. So it's the thought that counts, I guess. But yeah, he got the hard sell. He came back and he didn't even know what GW was. He didn't remember the name of the store. He didn't even really know what he bought. Like I said, he thought he was buying Renegade Legions. He was buying Warhammer 40K. And he was just like, holy crap, man, this It's like one of the things he remembers from that trip 30 years ago was like, man, this guy would not let me out of the store. Like, they have like bouncers. Usually bouncers keep you out of the place. Here, the bouncers like, you're not. They check your receipts not to see if you stole anything. They check your receipts, make sure you bought something before they let you leave.
Yeah.
You know, I'm exaggerating for humor there, of course, but yeah, he got the hard sell. Trust me.
Yep. Back to the rooms. One of the I love the place that I game at. I really, they're great people. Critical Grind here in Shorewood. But when you've got 3 D&D groups in the same room,
Ooh.
the noise.
Yeah, no, it would have to have individual rooms for, multiple different games going. Because
well, and not always
being at Gen Con or some of these other cons when you're doing an RPG. Think about the Pathfinder. Remember the Pathfinder room in the big ballroom? Yep. It's like 50 tables, 10-person tables in this ballroom. Imagine 50 games of Pathfinder going on all at the same time.
There's just this drone.
Yeah.
And so like that help you if you have the slightest problem hearing to begin with, because you're not going to be able to like really be in your game.
Oh, even better. You'll have dungeon rooms, right? These will be the RPG rooms, and you have the big old doors with the bars on them, and you can't come out until you pay something like food, and then we'll let you out.
Oh, now you've got escape rooms. Nice.
Well, so now the other thing you could do, you have rooms for some stuff like RPG games, which are limited in people, but in a bigger area, you have the drapes that you pull around to cut down on the sound.
Well, like I said, it's unlimited budget, so you just make more room. John, that's a very interesting. If they want to bring their own food, then you charge a table fee. That would be, I don't want it to be exclusionary. If you don't have the extra money to pay for food, then we charge a reasonable, like $10 a table or some silliness. I don't know. You come up with. It's all part of your business plan when you do your business model. But
the best business model is where you don't have to make money.
Edible. The food in the pub has to be edible, not just some GFS. I'm going to take it out of a freezer, throw it in a fryer, and get this rubbery chicken patty bullshit. So,
not movie theater nachos.
Yeah, not movie theater. I do kind of like movie theater nachos. So.
At the same time, I mean, if you make it too savory, then so many people have so many allergies nowadays.
Yeah,
and so many people.
I know. You got to have a fine balance, really.
But to what you guys were saying before about role-playing games and too many RPGs in the same. I mean, I don't really play RPGs anymore. I used to be a huge. People used to take vacation time from their jobs, get on planes, and fly across North America to be in our games. We used to rent out a hotel room for like 4 or 5 days, and like that was just like our vacation for the year. Was just running this huge game. It was kind of a pain in the ass playing in a hotel room because you don't really have a nice table in there, but we would make do. But especially the games I used to play, or I used to run, all the narrative games. I mentioned Vampire the Masquerade, Werewolf the Apocalypse, Mage the Ascension. These are games heavily reliant on narrative and mood. And if you're like in the middle of a creepy crawly scene where you're trying to, you're in like the catacombs of underneath Paris, you're talking to a 700-year-old vampire, you're trying to get him, in all these political machinations and so on, and the table next to you is in the middle of a big combat scene with lots of yelling and screaming and shit like that. It's the club we used to have down by us, or the store I should say, the gaming store we used to have by us, had the big main, it used to be like a I don't even know what the hell it used to be. Right now it's an auto parts store, sadly. But you would go in there and they had like the big room. They had a big main gaming room with lots of tables. That was a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! A lot of times, a lot of Magic the Gathering, stuff like that. But then off the side, I guess they used to be offices or something. They had a little hallway, and off the hallway they had like 6 or 7 much smaller rooms. And some of them went way back, like this hall went on for like 50 feet. And that was really cool because then, if you wanted to have like a serious game without a lot of distraction, you had like this little special room. And speaking of mood, as long as we have no budget, I would have speakers up in the 4 corners of all the rooms. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't have it accessible to the people because they would probably break it eventually, probably sooner rather than later. But you would have like a USB jack or like an iPhone jack or something like that. And what you could do is, people could like plug in their phones and play either sound effects or low key music. Like I wouldn't have the whole audio system accessible to the public because again they would probably break it or spill coffee on it or something. But just like the jack and maybe the volume control, something like that.
That'd be cool.
So that you could have like ambiance, like up to the people who were having the event in that room.
Yeah, that's
That'd
a
be
great
awesome.
idea.
Now the rooms never or have to be soundproof
Right.
Yeah.
because where we're at, we'll have 3 D&D games going in the same room, and then there's somebody who's always playing their damn background music too loud on the other side of the room.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
Or
mean,
you,
these are all,
you just have the volume where the volume only goes up so loud. Like even if they
Yeah.
crank it up to 10, it's only like 5 or whatever.
Yeah.
yeah.
Something
No,
like
that's a good idea. Jim, I don't know if you saw Dennis's comment about Renegade Legion books.
Do I play any cheap games? I gave up Renegade Legions. I gave up Renegade Legions in 1997.
Mhm.
I know the exact date. I still have all my old books, but they're in a box. They're kept in the back of the closet because that game literally became a sickness. It was FASA finally sold it. They sold it to a company called Crunchy Frog. I don't know who owns it now, but I think a big reason a lot of those games are expensive is because I don't think they make them anymore. That game largely went out of print along with every other great thing that FASA had before they were destroyed in a series of lawsuits by far inferior game companies, not just GW, but lots of others too. Paramount went to town on them over Star Trek. Harmony Gold went after them over BattleTech. I mean, that company just got devoured in a series of lawsuits.
Yeah.
Literally from the moment they started. Like the entire, from 1984 to 1991, it's just a litany of lawsuits. They just got ripped to pieces. Renegade Legions was originally going to be a Star Wars game, but when they couldn't get the license for Star Wars, they decided to make up their own system, which GW frankly stole, along with a bunch of other people. I mean, I think it was Mark Twain who said, if you steal from one person, it's plagiarism. If you steal from a lot of people, it's research. GW did lots of research for 40K. Let's just put it that way. They stole from BattleTech. They stole from Renegade Legions. They stole from a lot of people. Which I wouldn't have a problem with, except they're very litigious when it comes to people, using their stuff, which is extremely hypocritical. I mean, they tried to copy they tried to copyright the word Marine at one point.
Yeah.
I have a fucking issue with that. Surprisingly enough.
I think the U.S. Marine Corps has an issue with that.
That's what I'm saying. I think I was a Marine before you were, GW. How about you go do something with yourself? I'll tone back the language a little bit. But anyway. Yeah, Renegade Legions was great back in the day. I literally had to give it up. I literally had to eventually just say, look, I didn't, nobody came to me. I didn't have like an intervention or anything, but eventually I got to the point where I was like, I got to quit this. That's when I got back.
My name is Jim.
Yeah, I'm a Renegade Legions player. I'm a member of the 13779th Imperial Strike Legion. Yeah, stop me when this starts sounding like 40K. And it came out before 40K.
I've never heard of Renegade Legions, and now
it's a tiny little blip. You have to go back to BattleTech days, and unlike BattleTech, which has survived, Renegade Legions really didn't.
Interesting. Yeah, I just want to read the fluff, the background, because it sounds exactly like a certain GW product.
There are, I mean, GW. I'm bashing on GW a lot. GW did change a lot, but it's like it's not nearly as far forward in the future as GW is. Like it's the 69th century. It's called the Terran Overlord government. They basically had a huge plague, wiped out 95% of humanity. The rest of the races in the galaxy got together, took this opportunity, and humanity endured like this period of like 500 years of abject slavery. Finally, they overthrew it, and what's left is humanity has like this extremely xenophobic this extremely xenophobic view on all other races in the universe. They are hardcore Roman Empire. Women can't own property, women can't vote, women can't join the military, or if they do, they can't advance past a certain rank. Slavery is a huge thing. They are hardcore, like early Imperial Roman, in all the good ways and all the bad ways, all the very, very bad ways. Their economy is driven purely by conquest, and they are definitely the bad guys. Humanity is. Then a piece of them broke off, like 300,000 legions, and each legion is 50,000 troops. So it's like one of those gigantic scale games. Campaigns are measured in centuries. Again, stop me when it starts sounding familiar. One thing it doesn't really have any of the supernatural element that GW has. 40K has. 40K did, again, take stuff from which everybody does. I get that. But yeah, it was a great system. Like their first game, Interceptor, they had like each ship. It was almost a little too chunky for some people. Again, this is the 80s. Games were different in the 80s. And each fighter plane, you have like this. Their first game was called Interceptor. It was a fighter battle game. X-Wing, it was not. Let's just put it that way. Because each individual fighter had a little electrical chart. It was a full 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. And that was your electrical chart. And you took a hit in a certain spot. And then you would go through this flow chart and see where the pulse of...
Oh, geez.
Yeah. And all these little gateways, and I'm at this box, this little diamond, roll a d10 that goes this way, and you would keep going until you accounted for all the damage points you'd taken. And sometimes it was a little too crunchy, but some fantastic systems. Dark Star does borrow a little bit of its basic DNA from some of those games. I mean, a little. But yeah, then they had, Centurion was probably their best. It was on their ground combat game, tanks, infantry, stuff like that. Sci-fi artillery, orbital bombardment strikes, stuff like that. Extremely deadly game. They went on to Leviathan, which was their big tactical starship capital ship game. That was a lot of fun. They had a role-playing game that they tried to tie all that together. It was a great little universe. They had Prefect, which was their operational game. Like their map was a solar system. Like you would have to, like every month, the turns were a month. The planets would rotate by a certain amount. You had like a little model solar system going on your map, and you would have to like invade a planet. And it was very operational. It was mostly resource management. Well, you guys know what operational games are like. They had that. They had the Royal Canadian Military Academy, I think it is. Like help play test their games, stuff like that. It was a pretty big deal, but again, just they never really did enough money, and a lot of their big money making games, BattleTech and Star Trek Tactical Combat Simulator, were constantly getting sued by other people. Paramount for Star Trek, despite the contract they had with Paramount, and Harmony Gold, those. Fine people over in Japan, and they're all their Robotech bullshit. That's a very, very sharp divide in the gaming community. If you ever get into it, there are Robotech players and there are BattleTech players, and never the two shall meet. Let's just put it that way. You thought Israel and Palestine was bad. BattleTech and Robotech, it's the kind of thing where like outsiders like, oh, it's all the same. It's like Army and Marine Corps or Florida State and FSU. To the outsider, they look like they're kind of similar, but man, there's a lot of grief between those two camps.
Yeah.
And yeah, the company didn't really survive. Sadly, it was one of the better game companies of the 80s. Came out with some great games. Fortunately, BattleTech has survived. It managed to get bought by a different company, and there's a lot of debate over whether or not Catalyst Games is doing a good job or not. Their more recent releases tend to interject a lot of current day politics into it, which is not a good thing. This whole identity politics, I won't get too deep into that, but they try to modern day it, which I guess they want to get players, like new players in it. You can't sustain a game with 50 and 60-year-old people who played it back in the 80s.
Right.
There aren't enough of us. We like to play with the old stuff we bought back then. So I get it. But at the same time,
yeah. Cool. You got any other ideas for a perfect game store?
Nope, I think I put mine out there.
One where you don't have to make money.
Well, then what's the point?
Well, no. The point is.
Oh, you're just saying you're filthy rich and this is your hobby.
Yeah.
You said money was no object.
That's
I was
true.
gonna say
That's
that.
true.
That
See,
is true.
then you don't have to worry about like the, all the little things that you have to do to keep afloat.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the bean counting makes you do stupid
Yes, you're 100%
store
right.
choices.
For true.
to your point, that is pretty awesome because just think about it. So for every person that came into your store, if they were really into one thing that your store wasn't already doing and they talked to you about it, you'd be like, great, let's make that happen. Let's, and you never know, you might find a whole new little sub community in that you didn't have there or see before because you didn't have access to that
Yeah.
at the store. So
Earlier in the chat, Jen was talking about like a rotating game room.
yes, and Jen, I did see that, and that is
Where if you don't have a room for everything, like here's some weirdo who wants to play Renegade Legions from back in 1983 or something. Okay, we can do that like once a month or something. As opposed to dedicating.
So when you say rotating room, I'm like, a rotating room. That would be cool.
Carousel, yeah. Ride. Ooh, a ride. That's what we didn't put in the store. See?
Axe throwing.
Yeah. Oh, well, hey.
Well, I was going to say, already you have the rotating room and a place where you sell beer. You've already opened yourself up to how many lawsuits there from people falling off your little carousel.
Oh, the waiver at the front door.
Clean bathrooms. See, it all goes back to the need for the clean bathrooms.
Right.
Too funny.
Dennis Cross, I don't really play any cheap games. The good news is that once I buy the game once, Panzer Leader, a good box of Panzer Leader is not cheap these days because it's so rare.
Yeah.
You buy it once and you're good.
Yeah.
It's not like some games where you have to buy and buy and buy and buy. That gets annoying.
Most modern games, DLCs, Yeah. I mean, you had Panzer Leader, Panzer Blitz, Arab Israeli Wars, and then the general might put out a little scenario or something.
Yeah.
That was it back in the day. I wonder if that's one of the downfalls of Avalon Hill. They didn't produce add-ons. So once you bought it, there was no more revenue stream from that game.
Well, they corrected that with Squad Leader. How many add-ons did they create for Squad Leader? Like over 50, I think.
Yeah. Good old
There were so many modules coming out for Squad Leader. That was...
Yeah. Well, sounds like a good start for a Perfect Game Store. Now I just got to find the money.
Right? Start playing that lottery.
Would the pub have an elevated table sitting that Marty could be banned from?
No, he would not be banned.
We would have
mandatory,
and it would say reserved for Marty,
and
with a camera on it at all times.
We would sell squares like Super Bowl, and everyone would pick their, like date and times. Like, we could do like a 50-50 thing with it. Yeah.
Gift certificates.
There's all kinds.
I was gonna say have Marty in one of those chairs you see at the carnival, where it's like you throw a ball in the hole and he falls into the
a dunk tank. Marty dunk tank. Totally could do that.
Yeah.
And I would have production studios built into the store as well.
They're definitely have to be studios.
But if other people wanted to rent out the production studio to do podcasts or whatever, we would come on in. So they could
run a hit gym or hit a risk in a gym box. For like $1, you would get Jen with a wiffle ball bat to hit like with one. For $100, you get like Terry Crews with a car antenna. Stop talking about Panzer Leader. Outside of my medical expenses, you'd make a killing on that.
It's hilarious.
Well, all right, kids. It's about that time, I'd say. It's been a great show.
Topic. I like that one.
What do you guys think? I mean, what would be the perfect game store for you all?
Yeah.
Make sure you put in the comments below. Be on the lookout for tomorrow's programming and future programming, and hopefully we'll get that first episode of Friday Night Wrap Up on Friday.
Hopefully.
We got to start working on script. It all depends on the industry.
Yeah.
The industry is a huge driver on that show because it's about what's released, what's new, what's exciting. And it's only supposed to be about a 5-minute show. Yeah. Roughly, right? About 5-10 minutes max at the most. So, but yeah. So guys, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you to Jim and to Chris. And we appreciate you. And it was a great show, guys. I really enjoyed that topic a lot. It brings out a lot of stuff. And we might have to do a topic on way back when. Way back when.
Yeah.
You know, because it brings up things like Jim's, talk about Renegade Legions and FASA. I remember playing Star Trek from FASA back in the day.
All right. Well, let's not get into that. Save it for another show.
Yeah. So there you go. How about you guys? Throw in the comments, things from way back when. We'll do a way back when show. And make sure you like, subscribe, hit that bell. I guess there's been some big algorithm switch in YouTube land. All the big channels are talking about it, that, they're like, hey, please resubscribe or do this because, viewership and blah, blah, blah. So I'm not sure what has changed.
No, but we've noticed it because a couple of people that we followed fairly regularly, like all of a sudden it occurred to us the other day. We're like, I haven't really seen anything from whoever. And you go and you look them up and you're like, no, well, there's stuff there.
Yeah.
What do you mean I'm not subscribed? I've always been subscribed, So like YouTube does a purge or something. Yep. I don't know.
All right, guys. We will see you very shortly in the next episode of the Sit Rep Podcast. Until then, I'm Bill.
I'm Dawn.
That's Jim. That's Chris. And thank you, everybody, for joining us.
Bye.
And we are maybe out of here. Maybe. I can't find it. Oh, there it is. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hit it.
You have been listening to the SitRep podcast. We hope you have enjoyed the show. Make sure you like and subscribe to all of our channels on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and Discord. Remember to join us every other weekend for a new episode of the podcast, and don't forget our other programming.